and welcome back to the Flourish Podcast. I am so excited to be joined with our missions pastor, Cayli Quiroz, and our very own First Lady, Miss Amy Hickman. Thank you both so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so in our last episode, we talked about community and the importance of it, what the Bible says about it, and is it disobedience if we don't embrace it? And so we kind of set ourselves up for this conversation, which is what do we do when we get there? When we show up and we embrace community, then how do we participate in it? And so, Cayli, I want to ask you to kind of share with us the revelation that the Lord had given you in your own life about how to participate in community.
Yeah, that's good. So before we jump into that, I'm going to go back to on the last episode, you guys were talking about like the flourish, like how did this come to be?
Yeah.
And Miss Amy was telling us about how like we're sitting around this table, there's a bunch of women, and we're throwing these ideas out at each other. And I remember a specific moment that we were trying to find out a guest speaker for our next event, our next women's event. And I felt like the Lord just told me, like, we have so much within our church, in our community, so many testimonies, so many women who have walked it out and have been through so much. And I was like, why are we getting guest speakers when we have like a wealth of women here?
Yeah.
So through that, there was just some stuff that we start throwing around ideas at the table, and it just came down to, okay, so we can connect with women in our community that are walking through things, have walked through things that we don't have to just connect with a guest speaker that's going to go home.
Right.
And I love the idea of these women around us. We also had this idea of mentorship, which I know one day we're going to jump into that.
Yeah.
And we were like, how do we make that happen? And we're like, well, we need to connect people. And what better way to connect people to one another multi-generationally than to talk about what you've been through.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because man, like if you've been through something and I've been through something, then like we are trauma bonded, right?
Yeah.
Right at the beginning.
So real.
We're already in
That
there.
is so real.
And so I think there was this moment of revelation in that. And then we started these Monday nights and we realized like, wait, we only have 6 of these a year?
Right.
If that.
Right.
Exactly, because of how the seasons fall and the holidays fall.
Right.
And we were like, man, like there's just not enough time to get all of these testimonies on a stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's one of the places where this was birthed from.
Yes.
Was there are women in all walks of life in our
Yes.
church, whether they're business women or they're wives or mothers, or maybe they're single and doing it great.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are women in all these different areas of life that we get to connect with right here in our community.
Yes.
And I think that is where this has so much value.
Yeah.
And through that, so going back to your question,
Yeah.
there was a season where things were tough. I'm sure you've never been there. I'm sure you've never been there.
Not me.
Yeah, I know. But I was really struggling with a couple of different areas in life. A little anxiety and depression had come in, and I realized at some point, okay, so there's a couple of things the enemy really keeps replaying in my mind. Yeah. And I knew it was the enemy because of the way it felt. Not just because it's like this reoccurring thought, but because it felt anxious.
Yeah.
And that's not the Lord. Mm-mm. And I realized that that I had been asking the Lord to fix it. I had asked him over and over again, like, Lord, just take it from me, just fix it. Like, can you just get rid of this? And it was a Sunday morning, and I was just walking across the front of the sanctuary to my little seat where I always sit because we do that in church. Why are we like that? I don't know. Yeah, so guilty. But I'm like
my name's
walking.
not on it, but in my heart it is. That's my seat. So
that's a fact. Yes. Yeah. And I had walked past Pastor Allen, and I had an offense against him at the time. And the Lord said, Cayli, I could fix it in an instant, but are you willing to participate? Are you willing to ask me how to move past this?
So good.
And I was like, whoa, like I've just been asking for a miraculous moment, but I didn't want to learn. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to learn.
Yeah.
I just wanted the Lord to fix my heart because I knew there was something wrong in my heart about what was happening. And so the first step is the Lord told me to absolutely lay down my pride. I knew a couple of things were true, that the Lord had called me to Resurrection Life.
Yeah.
That this was the church that the Lord has asked me to be planted in, me and my husband. And there were a couple opportunities where he was like, you can leave if you want, but this problem's going to follow you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't want that. You know, like this like humbling moment of like, whoa, is this problem going to follow me? And so essentially, okay, I knew we were planted here. And so, all right, Lord, I guess I am willing to participate. And I had to lay down my pride in that. And then that ended up in a conversation. The first time I tried to have the conversation with Pastor Allen, it went really bad. I sat down and boohooed the whole time, and I couldn't get any words out. And I was like, okay, I'm not ready. Hold on. We're going to have to regroup.
Run it back.
We're going to have to regroup because that was embarrassing. But he had so much grace. What a great guy. And then the next time I was like, okay, listen, if I have Miss Amy there with me and my husband there with me, I think all of this will go a lot better because like I'll have a women's perspective so she can like relate a little bit more, and maybe she can translate to her husband if I get too emotional. And so Alan laughed at me. Pastor Allen laughed because I had a list in my phone. But the Lord told me, hey, write all the things down because if you don't do that, then you're
Address
not
it. Call it out.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to remember because you're going to get there. And I'm an emotional person, obviously. And so I pulled out my list on my phone, and Pastor Allen just laughed. He was like, well, I guess we're going to be here a long time. And I was like, hopefully not. But it all came down to, one, me setting down my pride, and two, confronting it and saying, hey, this is what I heard when you said this. Did you mean that? And if so, can we talk about it? And all of the things that we talked about, it ended up, I just misunderstood. And I'm so grateful. So that was this moment of, okay, my community is on the line. This church the Lord has told me to be planted in is on the line, all because of what I heard. I know, it's okay. We're going to cry our way through this one. But it was all on the line because I heard something incorrectly and allowed the enemy to twist it. And so I'm so grateful that the Lord confronted me in the middle of the sanctuary that morning and said, are you willing to participate? And it was hard. It was not easy. I cried to my husband so many times. And was like, I don't know if I could do it. Like, I need to reschedule. I need to push this back. Like, I'm not like, ooh, I'm not ready.
But that is valuing the other person too. You know what I mean? Like you choosing to just sit in your pride and not address it. Like that would not, that's what the enemy wants us to do. You know what I mean? But valuing that relationship and valuing that community, I think that is a way that we participate, by being willing to be uncomfortable and being willing to ask for clarity, you know, because we want to mull it over, and because we want to be right. And we want to feel good about it. Like, okay, I'm happy with where I've settled in my mind, like what they meant by that or what I think, you know, but being willing to have that hard conversation, being willing to ask for clarity, that's valuing community. That's valuing the other person.
It is.
You know?
It is, because sometimes I think we forget that there is more than just my perspective and the way I see what happened. The way I feel about what happened.
Because we see everything through a lens of what we perceive about ourselves and what we perceive about the world around us. And so that was one of the parts of my journey of, are you willing to participate? That the Lord revealed to me was like, hey, you're hearing him say that. Okay, so there's the difference between like, what did you say and what I heard. So when you said this, I heard this. And the reason I heard something different is because I looked through a lens, right? And so it's just asking the Lord, like, okay, now that I'm aware of that, help me, one, to communicate that, to communicate like, hey, when you said this, I heard this. And because that deepens intimacy in a relationship. So now we're at a place with Miss Amy and Pastor Allen that like, I feel so safe because I know that in that conversation, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
It was.
But now I know, like, hey, like, they are a safety net for me. Like, I know that I can run to them and say, hey, I heard you say this. And, like, what did you mean?
Yeah.
And we're good. You know, we can talk through it. That's
Yes.
probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And so I know I can do it now, you know. But it was all through the value of community.
Yes.
Lord, I know you called me to be a part of
Yes.
this church.
Wow.
I
That's
can't
so
move
good.
forward. I can't move forward if we don't fix it.
Yeah.
And the Lord knew that, and he's kind, and he met me there. And then he said, come on, let me teach you.
Right.
Let me teach you through it, not just like make it go away in an
Right.
instant. And I'm grateful for that because now I get to share with people like,
Yes.
hey,
Yes.
like, I see where you're at. I understand the depths of that. But
Yes.
like, are you willing to participate and do the hard thing?
Yes.
Because in community, you have to participate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
And
have to.
Sometimes you have to be willing to do the hard thing.
Right.
And look, in leadership, that goes for you too.
Yeah, especially.
Yes,
Especially.
we have to be willing to do the hard thing.
Yeah.
And get comfortable sometimes, a lot of times being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But is it enough that Emmanuel,
Yes.
God is
Yes.
with me. He is present and he walks with us through these things.
And it has to come back down to that. Because what
Yes.
if, not because you suck or because they suck, but
Right.
what if that conversation wouldn't have gone how you hoped it would?
Right.
Right.
Is it enough that he's still with you?
Yes.
Right.
Because then am I brave enough to try again?
Yes.
Because we're not
That's
all
it.
perfect.
That's exactly
You know,
right.
you were ready, but what if they hadn't been ready?
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we
Wow.
can't predict how something's going to go. Am I still going to try again?
Yes.
Because I know that he's going to be with me through it. Like, that's got to be like a heart posture. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
that's
Like,
so good.
Emmanuel,
Yes.
God with me,
Yes.
truly is enough.
Yes,
It
he
has to
is.
come back. Everything has to come back down
Amen.
to settle in that in my heart and
That's
settle
right.
in that in my spirit. Like, I have to make decisions from that place.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that confidence and that assurance that, yes, he is going to be with me through it, because you didn't know
That's right.
that. Thank God, praise God that it did, and we're here to
Yes.
tell about it, and it's
Right.
a testimony. But if it
Thankful.
hadn't, you
Yes.
know, like, would I have been willing to try again? Would I have been
Right.
willing to just settle my spirit and, okay,
Well,
you're with me
technically,
through this?
I did try again because
Right?
the first
Yeah.
time I did
yeah.
the first time I embarrassed myself.
Yeah, we crashed and burned the first
technically
time.
I did. It was bad. Crashing out.
It was a
Yep.
no.
But
It
then
was
also I appreciate
not
you
ready.
bringing that out too, though, because sometimes we do need to try again. Because
Yeah.
sometimes whether it's the leadership or just if it's not a leadership issue, if it's just a friend or
Yeah.
something, like the other person, people may not be ready. It may take time for them
Yeah.
to process, and there may be another conversation
Mm-hmm.
and another conversation.
And I think like
You
that's
know?
what the Lord said. I didn't use it for the first episode, but I definitely want to do it this time. How many times in the Bible it talks about one another? Like, that's at minimum 2 people. You know, like, the Lord values community. He walked daily with 12 people. And so 1 John 1:7 says, if we walk in the light as he himself is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. And so, like, he wants us to do
Wow,
this.
that's
This is
so
important
good.
to him. Like, it's a command that we do this. And so it's not just about us.
That's right.
What we can bring or what we can receive, because I think that we have a tendency to be one or the other. Like, I have a tendency to give more, or I have a tendency to receive more. And so I think one way that we participate in community is being self-aware. And that's hard. You know, like, am I willing to do the hard thing? Sometimes the hard thing looks like looking in the mirror and saying, okay, what was my role in this? Whether
That's
it be
right.
conflict or whether it be confusion or whatever it is, or misunderstanding, whatever that is. Like, am I willing to value this person enough to look at
Yes.
myself and say, okay, I'm a black and white thinker, but they may be a gray area person. And so what is their perspective? And can I hold space for that?
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's a
Yes.
way that we participate in community. I think that we think participating means just showing up. Well, they
Right.
invited me to the life group, so I'm going to show up to the life group. I participated. That's it. I'm good. What
Nope.
next? You know?
That's right.
Like, I'll be obedient to do this one thing because it's not too far out of my comfort zone.
But don't ask me to do
But
more,
don't ask
God.
me to do anything else. And that
I'm
goes
not
back to,
willing
like,
to do more.
what we talked about in the
That's right.
first episode. Like,
Yes.
I'm so sorry that you think this is a negotiation process. I'm sure the Lord just thinks back, like, that's so cute. That's so cute that you
Right.
think that we can talk about it like that.
That's right.
You
But
know,
at the
that-
same time,
that
how
you get
often?
to tell me what we're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And how often do we sit there and we're like, God, like, I just need help with this thing. Like, please just fix it. And then I know a lot of times he comes to me and he's like, hey, but what about the last thing I asked you to do?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Oh,
Yeah.
you're right. I didn't do the
You
thing
didn't
you
want to
told.
just put it in the corner?
Yeah, you didn't actually want to just like shove that to the side, because that's what I wanted to do.
Yes.
I wanted to pretend like you didn't ask me to have a hard conversation with my pastor, my senior pastor and his wife. Like, no, thank you. I would like to go around that. That would be great. However,
I'll
because
take the
of
scenic
it,
route for $500. Thank you.
for $500, thank you.
Yeah.
But the fruit that has come from it, the I can't imagine my life right now had I allowed that to fully take root and make my decisions for me.
Yeah.
Because like we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
And all of the things that have happened in the past several years since then would not have come to fruition.
Yeah.
Right? And like there's so much on the other side of that tough thing that the Lord's making you do, asking you to do, asking you to participate in, because there's growth, and growth hurts.
It does.
It's right. It is not fun.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It is not fun to be stretched.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But there's always benefit in it. Always benefit in it.
Yeah, I don't know one single time I've ever been stretched by the Lord, and I was like, oh, that was sweet.
That's right. I loved that.
I loved that. Let's do it again.
Right.
The
That's so
fruit
I
of
think-
it is so rewarding.
Yeah,
it's
and
so
I
worth
think
it.
too, we talked about community. Like, if I don't embrace community, if I don't participate in community, am I being disobedient? And that is literally what participation is. Any example we can give of participation is an act of obedience.
That's
I
right.
have to choose to obey him here. Like, whether I'm participating in a hard conversation, whether I'm participating by showing up for a life group, whether I'm participating by agreeing to have coffee with this girl that I otherwise may not have, all of it is an act of obedience. It all ties together in that way with community, how we show up there. So,
And see, and it's not so cut and dry, like where you can go down the checklist. And as I think you brought out last time, it's like the Holy Spirit leads us and guides us.
That's exactly right.
And it's so important to be obedient. Not saying sometimes there is legitimately times where he may have you pull back because there's some unhealthy things going on in the relationship. And so there are times we need to pull back. But again, he's with us and he's going to lead us and guide us because we need each other.
We do.
Our hearts need each other.
But even in Ephesians, it talks about the body.
Yeah.
And how we all have different functions and we're all different parts.
Yes.
And like,
Yes.
I'm not the same part that you are or that you are.
Right.
And if I sit here and
thank
compare
God
myself,
for that. That we're not all the same.
facts. It would
Thank
be,
you, God.
It would be
Yes.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah. It's still overwhelming, and we're all different. So that's real.
That's true, yes. But in that,
so
in being in community, because we're all so different, it can be tough, obviously. We can have different expectations of one another. That's something we chatted about a little, is like, our expectation of what a good friend is so different.
Yes.
I'm the one over here, like, I need the low maintenance. I need to know that in 6 months I can holler at you and say like, "Hey,
All of my
girl,
friends
we're
are
picking up
laughing
where."
right now.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Not me.
yeah. But like, I want to be able to call you in 6 months and you not be like, "Oh my God, did I do something wrong?"
Yeah.
Because no, you didn't. I just am ADHD and
Yeah. And I want to know what you had for breakfast. So,
right, exactly.
how'd you sleep last night?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'd be kind of fun to like talk about those dynamics and like
Yeah.
how we
That's a
have
good
like,
point.
I don't know, managed our friendships in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I value you.
Yeah.
It comes down to that too.
Yes.
I value this person enough. And I think like you had talked about earlier before we started today, like we all have expectations in relationship, whether we know it or not.
That's right.
And so for me personally, like when I start a new friendship, which is not often, but when I do, one that I'm going to like really participate in, like I want to do life day in and day out with you. I am going to say, this is what I bring to the table. This is what I expect. That doesn't mean that it's a make or break and we're not going to be friends if you can't do this. This is just what I expect. How can you meet me here? What do you expect of me? And I'll tell you, I think I can definitely do that. Or I don't know if I can, but I'm willing to try because I value you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because we are so different. We talked about, we're sitting here just literally laughing at one another. Like, this is what I expect in a friendship. I'm like, can't relate, sis. But somehow we're friends. Like, how does that even work? But we're friends. And so, yeah. Everybody's different.
And I think there's also like, how do you figure out what your expectations are in a friendship?
That's good.
And I think a really great
so
way
good.
to figure that out is, what were your offenses of your last one that didn't work out? Okay.
So good.
So where were you offended? What made you in the relationship?
Yeah.
Right? And so whenever you realize, like, okay, that offense is probably because it matters to me.
Yeah.
Right? And
That's
so
so
like,
right.
if, like in my marriage, for example, in the beginning of us being married, there were times where I was like, oh, well, that was offensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd have the conversation about it and be like, oh, well, I guess it's because it was important to me that you took out the trash.
Yeah.
I should have wrote that down.
Yeah.
Like, should have been
Right.
like, this is an expectation I have of a husband.
Yeah.
Take out the trash. I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
But love him. He does. But realizing like the offense existed because of an expectation that I had of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so in our friendships, how often does that happen?
Yeah.
Oh, so often, because I think this just happened to me recently. I realized one day I was disappointed because of an unmet expectation that I did not even realize I had.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't realize I had an expectation. And so I love that we're talking about this because I just think there's so many times we don't realize it, and we don't vocalize them, and we don't share with each other.
And am I willing to pivot my expectation?
Yes.
Is my expectation a safety net for me?
Right.
Do I have this expectation because I don't want to give any room for a mistake, or I don't want to give any room in this relationship to be hurt? So I'm setting this expectation really as a fence to guard my heart because I'm scared.
Wow.
And so I think that goes back to self-reflection and being self-aware. Am I willing to be uncomfortable with my own self?
Yes. Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves too. Like, am I willing to change my expectations? Because
Meet in the
I really,
middle. That's one of the things we said over and over again yesterday was like, but like, how do you meet in the middle in those things? Like, because I am the type of person, like, girl, just show up at my house. Like, call me, tell me you're on your way. First of all, I'm going to speed clean my house, and I need to do that.
Yeah.
So, call me and tell me you're on your way. But, like, just show up.
Yeah.
Like, I need the person to just, like, hey, I'm going to get Taco Bell. I'm stopping by. I'm going to scoop you up. Like, those friendships are the ones that, like, work the best for me.
Yeah.
And then also, I want to be on the same end and be like, hey, girl, I got to run an errand. You want to come jump in my car?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I need, because like in those mundane moments of like just driving and doing errands or it's in the evening and I don't have anything planned right now. And so like, I'm just like watching Netflix or something. Like, girl, just show up at my house. Come hey, I'm available. You have my location. Come over.
But then if not though, like say the Lord is calling you to be friends with somebody who is not that way.
Right.
Then what am I to do?
That's right.
I have to pivot my expectations because I'm a planner. Yeah. Like I like to schedule things. I like to know what to expect.
That's funny.
And but I have friends that are that way. I'm like, okay, hold on. There's a line here where we have to meet in the middle because I'm going to break out in hives.
Right.
Like what in the world? So that is not what I do on Tuesdays at 2:00. So like we got to talk about this. And so, but then there are times where I like to be spontaneous, but but I'm going to be spontaneous on Friday. Like I'm that type of person. I can be spontaneous, but I know when that's coming. Like, what's the window for spontaneous? Like, I need like a 1 to 5 window where we can do whatever here and be spontaneous, but I know that there's like a start and finish line there. And so I have all these expectations, but then I also like have a friend who is not the same. And so I can't draw, not that that's what you're doing, but like, I can't draw that hard line in the sand and say, well, if you can't do this, then we can't be friends.
Right.
And so that's where I have to be willing
because
to
we were called to community.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to be willing to say, okay, wait a second. This is what I would love. And this is what would make me comfortable, but I'm willing to change that for you because I value you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think also we have to decide, are our expectations honoring the Lord?
Yes.
Or are they honoring our comfort zone?
Amen.
You
Or
know,
our hurts.
Yeah, or our hurt.
Our
Like, am I
traumas,
tending to
or-
something unhealthy here? Like, I want my expectations to glorify God. And so I have to talk about that with him and with myself first before I ever even go into that conversation with a friend on what expectations are.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Because always in the midst of this, it always comes back to that.
Yeah.
Honoring the Lord, the Lordship in our lives, among us, in our friendships, in our homes, and just the way we do life. You know, we've got to be willing to leave that space for Him.
Yeah.
You know, to correct us and, or you know, celebrate us. You know, there's both. You know,
And participating too, like in so many different ways, you know, like in day-to-day life, like we're going shopping together, we're going wherever, we're going to have coffee together, something like that. But then also like in serving in church, you know, in life when it gets difficult, like, am I willing to participate with my vulnerability? You know, like I can say I expect to be able to just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm on my way. But then what about when it comes to sharing my heart? Like, am I willing to participate in that way with my vulnerability? Am I willing to listen to you, but when it's my turn to share, do I close up? You know what I'm saying? And so that's a scary thing too, because the enemy wants to trap us in that. Like I see so many people, and I've been guilty of this too, where I said, okay, I'm going to participate in community by showing up. And that's it.
that's right.
You know, but I'll listen all day long, and I will give advice, or I will share what wisdom I have all day long. But when it comes my turn, no, that's me and the Lord. You know, but is that what He wants? Like, first and foremost, yes. But then does it go any further than that? Am I willing to contribute to a relationship in that way?
Right. Because
You know?
how often are we like, you know, I've heard this my whole life, like feeling alone in a crowd. But how does that happen?
Yeah.
How do you get to a place where you feel that alone, where you're in a room full of people and you're like, wow, I have nobody.
Yeah.
How that happens is a lack of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because if we're not willing to be vulnerable, then no one ever actually knows us. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, we have to be willing to be known.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to be known. And there's so often where it's those moments of like, hey, I'm pouring my heart out, where the connection really happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, I don't really know how to meet all of your needs in a friendship if we've never talked about it.
Yeah.
If I've never told you like, okay, so this thing hurt and this was unfortunate, and here's the way my brain functioned in it. I've realized that's something that I need from my people.
Yeah.
I need that from my husband. Like, hey, like whenever you were offended by that, like what was going on in your brain? Like, I need to know, like, I don't just need to know that you were hurt, but like the intimacy comes in understanding why. Like, how did your brain work in this?
Yeah.
Because then I can understand you more. I can understand you more fully.
Yeah, and then maybe I can present my offense differently next time. I can't
Right.
promise that I won't be offended, but I can definitely communicate my offense in a way that honors you.
Right.
And so but we have to be willing to have those conversations. You know, in the next episode, we're going to talk about conflict in community. But I mean, we can definitely touch on some of those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Like, that communicating is honoring of the other person. You know, like you said, this offended me, or being willing to ask. Because somebody may not be totally comfortable. There are us who are confrontational. I am by nature a challenger. Like, it is just in me to push back and to question and to challenge. And so I don't necessarily like love confrontation because I just love it. Like, I'll just wake up in the morning like, oh, who can I confront today? But
But you're not afraid.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm comfortable with it. But that also, there has to be boundaries with that.
Right.
I can't just I'm not going to have anybody in my life if I just hit every nail on the head.
Right.
You know, and so that goes back to just being surrendered to the Holy Spirit. But being willing to understand, okay, this friend of mine or this sibling of mine or this parent of mine, whatever, is not a confrontational person. And because they have let me know them, they were willing to be known, I know that they're probably not going to be forthcoming with it. And so let me ask. Because we do want to settle in our pride sometimes and be like, well, they didn't say anything, so I can't fix a problem I don't know about.
Wow.
But is that love? Is that
Right.
valuing the other person?
Right.
You know, there is a certain level of accountability where it's like, okay, you do need to get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
That's right.
But that's where we need the Holy Spirit to say,
Yes,
okay,
we
but
do.
should I ask? You know? And so
Yes, we
that,
do.
like what you were saying, I think that's good. Like, okay, I can sense that something is off. Let me ask.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Yes.
And I think it's very valuable to mention that all of us know we have not arrived in this topic.
oh, correct. Please.
We have not arrived. We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
We are on this side of heaven, and we will continue to have issues because people exist.
Yeah.
And I am one of them. I'm one of the people that exist.
Yes. Yeah.
And so where there are people, there will be problems.
Yes.
But are we willing to have grace for one another?
Yeah.
Are you willing to have grace for the person that hurt you? Because, like, hey, there's probably going to be a day where I hurt you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like, are we willing?
Yeah.
Are we willing to have grace?
And see,
Yeah.
that helps me because I'm the not confrontational person. And I'm the one that wanted to make sure I have a safe space before, you know, and I try to know all the things, I guess, so that I don't have to have faith that it's just
Yeah.
what I know.
Right.
You want to be able to predict the outcome?
Yeah, God doesn't always
Yeah.
work like that.
Yeah.
But
That's wild.
but I tend, you know, to I'll judge myself first.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and I love how you were about to bring out about the body, and there's so many different parts because, man, one of the most recent traps I fell into, and I know better, but it's that comparison trap.
Yeah.
Like, man. And on the one hand, it's awesome that we see the beautiful strengths and of our sisters, you know, but we're not to let it shut us down and cause us to hide and not be willing, because every one of us have strengths.
Right.
Every one of us has something that somebody else needs.
Yeah.
They have something I need, and I have something you need. And it's also, you know, being willing to give myself grace.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I love that, like, you know, because I can be afraid not to be in a relationship because I know I'm going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And so I just might as well not even put myself out there, because at some point I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah.
At some point I'm not going to be enough. You know, but I love the part about, you know, giving each other grace, but then also giving ourselves grace. Like
Yeah.
it just
So
it takes both,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
And I think, you know, like expectations are good and healthy, but I
Yes.
don't think that they should be like a line in the sand.
I agree.
Right.
You know, like they're good for understanding what each other is going to bring to the table, but life happens.
That's right.
You know, and it can't be a make or break thing. We've got to have
That's
grace
right.
for one another, and we've got to have grace for ourselves.
Have y'all heard the phrase, "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall
Yeah.
not be broken"?
Hello.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I
and
feel
just
called
think,
out.
I think that's one thing, you know, I think I may be the oldest person around the couch here. But that's one thing I feel like if we're willing, as we age, we can so learn that these hard places
Yeah.
and giving ourselves grace, it helps us to give others grace, because
Yeah.
when we're willing to meet somebody in the middle, y'all, it softens me and it makes me a
Yeah.
better person. And it makes life more enjoyable because I don't have it so defined of how
Yeah.
it's got to turn out and how it's got to be.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like it life is sweet, and it helps me to see it in such a better way, and
Yeah.
and live it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't have the expectation just so set and defined.
Yeah.
There's a softness and a gentleness
Yeah.
that develops in your heart
Yeah.
that keeps your heart open, not only for yourself but for others.
Yeah, and I appreciate that about you. And there are a lot of women in our women's ministry who I feel like are so generous with their wisdom, and I feel like that is the importance of having multi-generational community, because we do have a tendency to want to stick with our own generation.
Yes.
You know, but us as our generation being willing to learn from yours, and your generation being willing to learn from ours, because it's so
Yes.
easy to be intimidated one way or the other.
Yes,
Like they've
it
been
is.
through it all. I don't know anything. I don't have a place. I don't have a seat at this table.
Right.
You know, or vice versa.
Yes.
Like they're young and they know all the things and I'm intimidated by this, so I don't have a seat at this
and
table.
how fast life and culture is changing
Yeah.
in so many ways
Yeah.
to think that, well, man, it's not how it used to be, and I can't even get a grasp.
Yeah.
Because it changes so quickly.
Yeah.
does.
But
It
I
does.
think us
You
being
know?
willing
Yes.
to learn from one another.
That's right.
That's how multi-generational
Yes.
community happens.
We
And
need
that's
each
the way the
other.
Lord intended it. Like there are
That's
different
right.
parts to the body. I don't think that necessarily refers to exclusively like gifts and talents,
That's
but
right.
ages as well.
Amen.
You
Right.
know,
That's
like we
so
all
good.
have to work together
right.
in our individual generations to come together
Yes.
for one goal.
Yes.
And so,
And what is that goal?
yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
That's to
Amen.
see people
Loving God and loving people,
love
just like
Je-
you said.
Yes, seeing people come to Jesus, because that's where
Yes.
our lives were changed. That's where
That's
we're able
right.
to flourish,
Yes.
right? Is being a part of Him. And so I think that
so good.
the reason we are in community, and something that we have been, my husband and I, it's been on our hearts so much recently, is just this idea of like taking ground for the kingdom of God. And I can't do that by myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to even try. Like, I don't want to try. We weren't created to be that
right.
way.
Yeah.
And so, like, what is our goal? Our goal is not for my life to feel great and be rainbows and butterflies. Our goal is to see those around us flourish,
Yeah.
so we can advance the kingdom of God in our area, in our town, in
Yeah.
the world, in our state, wherever.
That's
And
right.
so that it's not just a Jesus bless me club,
That's
like our
right.
pastor
Yeah.
likes to say all the time.
Yes.
Like, we don't want to be a Jesus bless me club. Like, why do we talk about community? Why do we talk about
right.
flourishing?
Yeah.
It's because it's something we're called to in order to follow Jesus well.
Amen.
Yeah.
And in following Jesus, it's advancing the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so that's the
so
whole
good. That's
purpose,
right.
not just so I have friends.
That's
right.
right.
Like, there's a
That's
bigger
right.
purpose. Because
That's right.
I know there's lots of people who are like, I don't need friends.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You do, but like,
Yeah.
you know, if somebody were to be listening right now and say like, oh, but like, I'm totally good with like being by myself. Like, I'm totally good with that. Cool. But that's not what you were called to.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the reason you were called to something bigger is because there is something bigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. The whole purpose in all of it
Yes.
is about Christ, Christ crucified, and people knowing about it.
Yeah.
Again, He's called us go and make disciples.
Yeah. It's a call
Right.
to action.
It
It
is a
is.
call to action.
Follow
And
me.
again,
Yeah.
It's a call to
Yes.
action.
There's something in you. It's not just about me. It's not just about you. There's something in me. There's something in you
Yeah.
that He wants to impart through you to somebody
Yeah.
else. That's why we need community. That's
Right.
why it's not okay just to stay by yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Because how do we finish this race well?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's
And
with one another.
right. So winding down this episode, I want to speak to the girl sitting on her couch listening to this in that space that you just talked about.
Yeah.
Like whether she's been hurt or whether she just has never branched out and embraced community. Like what would you say to that girl that knows that that's what the Lord's calling her to do, knows that's what she needs, but she hasn't done it yet? Like, how do we practically participate in, like, what does that first step look like?
I think it looks like being a part of a local church. I think it looks like giving your life away.
Yeah.
I know that there is no greater, there's nothing that surpasses receiving life than there is to give life.
Yeah.
And so to be in a place where you're serving in your church, I think asking the Lord, okay, well, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Where do you want me to go? Who do you want me to reach out to?
Yeah, that's good.
There are so many practical steps, you know, like first and foremost, be a part of a church.
Yes.
And like, I don't want you to be the one that walks in right as worship is starting and leaves as soon as the sermon's over and be like,
Yeah.
I don't have community.
Right.
Well, yeah, because you didn't connect with anybody.
Yeah.
So like you have to, what is it in Proverbs? It talks about how you have to, in order to have a friend, you have to present yourself friendly.
Right.
Yes.
That puts
Yes.
some space.
Responsibility.
That's responsibility.
We all
Yeah.
have responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, are we presenting ourselves friendly?
Yeah.
So if Jesus told you to get connected in a church, which he did, I don't know if you've heard it yet, but he
Yeah.
did.
I'm just letting you know.
Amen.
Right, just let you
Yeah.
know. Then like, are you presenting yourself friendly? And so
Yeah.
try. And if it doesn't work the first couple times, cool, keep trying. Keep putting yourself out there. And that's where serving together is such a great place to
And it might be scary,
connect.
You know,
It is.
like it might literally be a total radical act of faith and obedience.
Right.
Like, because, I mean, sometimes I really think we think that the Lord's going to just send a pigeon. You know what I mean? Like, drop it on my front porch. I need a telegram to come underneath my doorstep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we want it to be that real. Like, write it in the sky, and then I'll do it. And so I think, you know, like what you said, yes, this is that we might just have to just do it. You know, like call somebody and ask them to do it with you if you're afraid or whatever. But just being willing to take that very first step. Just trust that the Lord will be with you.
Ask him how you can participate.
Yes, that's so good, because I think that's, you know, even for those, maybe there's some who are sitting here listening and saying, well, you know, I've got community. I've been doing community, and I think there's always a place and a space for us to say, okay, Lord, is there anything you want to adjust,
right?
You know, add to, take away. Like, is there any next step you want me to take? Is there anybody on your heart and on your mind today, Lord? You know, I'm trying to encourage my son, you know, every day. Okay, we pray, Lord, today help us to recognize and notice those around us. Who needs a smile? Who needs a hug? Who needs, you know, a smile can change the atmosphere. You know, I don't know. I think it's just that being sensitive. It's easy to get comfortable.
And are you willing, if you have a good community, are you willing to make more space at your table?
Yes, because there's some people who don't have it and they need it. They're hurting. They need to be invited into community. And
I think too, assessing like your priorities. You know, like, okay, my kids are involved in this many things, or my schedule is so tight, you know, so I don't have time for community. Okay, hold on. Like, let's look at what our life looks like and organize that in as far as like what honors the Lord, you know? And so because he didn't call us to do this, but like if your schedule's too busy, you don't have to. You know what I mean? And so where is my priority chart off? As far as like what honors the Lord and what doesn't, or what do I just prefer here?
And it might all be great things. It might all be well-intentioned things, but like, Lord, like if my plate is too full, then help me. Help me figure it out.
It's messy, because this is exactly where I've been living the last few years. My life has been in a major transition for about 4 years, and I thought by now it would have settled, and I would have my footing. And I still don't have my footing quite yet. I can sense it kind of coming. But these are some questions I've been holding up to. Like my family, my husband is important. My family's important. Now I have daughter-in-laws and grandchildren to add, and it's all awesome. Good things
from the Lord.
From the Lord that I want to make time for. But then also I know I'm called to ministry, and I'm called to friendship for the first time in my life. Like it's like I feel the richness and value of relationship and friendship, and I'm like, Lord, I'm not that great at managing time and stewarding my time. How do I fit all of this in, and what does that look like? Like, I realize right now I have that very need that you're talking about. I don't know. I'm holding that up to the Lord, and I'm asking the Lord, because I don't want to look back with regret. I read these stories. I say that I want to participate. You know, but I'm having to deal with some of my fears. I'm having to deal with intimidation. I'm having to humble myself. Like, I'm a pastor's wife. I'm a leader. You know, I'm this, and I'm thinking that those thoughts that the enemy uses to say, well, you should be beyond this. You shouldn't be struggling with this. You should, you know, all those should be's. But I'm just having to humble myself and say, Lord, I want to walk with you, and I want to do it well. I want to get it right, but right now it's so messy, and I don't know how, and I don't know what it looks like, and show me. And I'm really beginning to get to the point too where maybe I need to reach out and ask for help. Like, how do I steward my time? How do I get this right? Because there are some areas where I struggle with the time management thing. So there goes that humility thing. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like there's some areas where I have mastered it.
Yeah.
But yet in these other areas right now, at my age, I'm having to humble myself and be a student.
Yeah.
And learn.
Bless the Lord.
What?
But you're willing to.
Yeah.
You're willing
and
to learn.
I think that's what it is. Like, I think we literally just processed through that here live. Like,
I'm sorry.
Live on
but
the
I was-
air.
when you shared that stuff, though, I'm thinking that's where I'm
yeah,
at.
like getting
So
your
good.
heart in a position of obedience. Like, okay, Lord, I'm willing to participate. And so you show me the next step.
Amen.
So,
And he will, and sometimes it's not in our timing.
Amen.
Sometimes he waits way too long
Yeah.
to tell me my next step.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, but we also trust that he is good.
Yeah.
Right. We trust
That's
that
so
he
good.
is
Well, thank you both so much
Thank
for
you.
having this conversation with me. I'm so
Yeah.
excited
Thank you.
about this whole
Yes,
thing.
amen.
I'm so excited to just do this
been good.
so many times with so many different people. This was fun. I appreciate you both being here and being willing to share and be vulnerable. So
Thank you.
I love you both so much.
love you
Love
back.
you.
Well, that is it for episode 2. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will see you next time.